consciousness is the only thing we possess.
Sir, we finally are out from the black hole. So a radar, it's saying that we have a couple of planets near to us, and I want to remind you that we need some supplies like energy from the spaceship, and you need some food, and we need some kind of stuff. And also I would like to have a little walk around. I need to do exercise. So sir, please, as soon as you finish your yoga, can you please tell me which planet do you think is better for us to land it?
Oh my god! Oh my god, Captain Bobby, how much do I slept? Oh my god, I feel like.
Sir, I'm so sorry for I didn't wake you up before because we still was in the black hole and you was losing completely your mind. But you slept around 359 hours.
Captain Bobby, this is insane, Captain Bobby. How can you not wake me up? I mean, in 359 hours, I could be just record thousands of videos. I could create things. You know how many things we have to do, Captain Bobby? We are just in the middle of galaxy, Captain Bobby. We need to land it to Earth. We just dragged by a black hole. So many things like we have to do, and you just let me sleep like for hours. Like what the fuck, Captain Bobby? Captain Bobby.
Well, sir, I told you do not drink more than this doses. Remember that you took an overdose from the magic potion for sleeping during the black holes that the beautiful Andromeda witch. Do you remember her? That you fell in love and you have a little romance and
Captain Bobby, don't talk about my private life.
I am so sorry,
Please
boss.
shut up.
I'm so sorry. Bye.
Well, yeah, you better go, Captain Bobby. Just leave it. We'll talk later. So I think we are checking the planet. I think the planet I like the most is this one, and it looks very curious. They say they produce iced chocolate. Do you know? Captain Bobby, come back here now. Can you check, please, what means iced chocolate? You know I love chocolate, but what does that means? I need to change my humor.
Hey, boss. Yes, actually, cold chocolate, it means that it's a chocolate that is so cold that you have to warm it up to be able to eat it, boss. Otherwise, you will get frozen completely. You will lose your teeth and you will lose your mouth and all everything.
I don't know what you're talking about, Captain Bobby. Really, I don't understand the ice chocolate thing. But what else? What else we can find on this planet? Did you did a research or something?
Actually, boss, also this place is known by a famous cheese. They have a mammal that is like a dolphin, and they make cheese and amazing desserts from this kind of milk. So let's find out some and just get some milk and do something. What do you think, boss?
Whoa, that sounds really, really crazy. But I think it would be interesting if we can find some place to try. I don't know. I never tried before. I don't know. I don't know what is a dolphin anyway. So yeah, let's park the spaceship and yeah, let's see what we can find.
Yes, let's go, boss. I'm very excited, and of course, we will listen to podcast. We cannot miss it out. Let's go.
All right, cheese lovers, get ready for your minds to be blown because we're going deep on a topic that's really got me thinking. And it's all thanks to you.
Oh, is that right? I'm intrigued.
You guys sent in some seriously wild articles all about making cheese from sources you wouldn't believe. I'm talking dolphin milk, bear milk, even lion milk. I mean, come on, lion cheese.
Yeah, that's pretty far
dive into today is figuring out, could this even work? What would these cheeses taste like? And, should we even be doing this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? There are so many angles to consider: the science, the ethics, the culinary potential. It's a real rabbit hole.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Why do we use the milks we do for cheese? Like, what makes cow's milk so special for cheddar?
Well, a big part of it is just practicality. Cows, goats, sheep, they're all domesticated. Their milk is easy to get.
Right, makes sense. It's not like we're out there wrangling wild animals for their milk, at least not usually.
Haha, exactly. But it's also about the science. You need milk with the right balance of fat, protein, and sugar to make cheese. It all comes down to curdling. That's when the milk proteins clump up and separate from the liquid whey.
Okay, so the milk has to have the right stuff in it, or else no cheese.
Exactly. And each type of milk, cow, goat, whatever, it all has its own unique composition. That's why different milks make cheeses with such different flavors and textures.
Right, it's like each milk brings its own personality to the party. But okay, let's get back to those crazy articles you sent. Dolphin cheese, whale cheese, how could that even be possible?
Yeah, that's where things get a little complicated. Sourcing milk from animals like whales and dolphins, it's just incredibly difficult, ethically and practically. They're highly intelligent creatures, live in complex social structures. Trying to get milk from them would be...
Yeah, not very nice, to say the least. Plus, a lot of these animals are endangered.
Exactly. We can't just start farming them for their milk. It wouldn't be sustainable or ethical.
Okay, but what about those other articles? The ones about bear milk and lion milk cheese? I mean, those animals are at least on land.
True, but sourcing their milk comes with its own set of problems. Bears, for example, they're solitary creatures, hibernate for months at a time. Good luck trying to get milk from a sleeping bear.
Yeah, that's probably not ending well for whoever tries. And lions? I mean, come on. They're apex predators. Trying to milk a lion sounds like a one-way ticket to the emergency room.
Exactly. Not the safest milking experience, to say the least.
So it seems like every time we try to picture one of these exotic cheeses on a plate, we hit a wall. Is this whole thing just a fun fantasy?
Maybe, maybe not. It's true, the challenges are huge, but who knows? Maybe someday we'll figure out a way to source milk from these animals ethically and sustainably. Or maybe technology will give us other options.
Speaking of technology, the articles mentioned this thing called lab-grown dairy. Is that even a real thing?
Absolutely. It's a field that's moving really fast. Scientists are using all sorts of high-tech methods to create milk proteins and fats in a lab without any animals involved.
Wow. So you're telling me we could have cow's milk or even dolphin milk without ever having to go near a farm or the ocean?
That's the idea. It could change everything about the dairy industry. It could solve a lot of the ethical and environmental problems we have with traditional animal farming.
That sounds amazing. But let's get back to the cheese. Let's say, hypothetically, we could make these exotic cheeses. What would they actually taste like?
Well, that's where things get really exciting. The article describes dolphin cheese as potentially having this briny, rich, creamy texture, kind of like a mix of feta and brie, but with a hint of, get this, seaweed.
Seaweed and cheese, that's a combo I never would have thought of. But I guess it makes sense. Dolphins live in the ocean, right?
Exactly. What an animal eats, where it lives, all of that can affect the flavor of its milk and the cheese made from it. Think about goat cheese. It often has that grassy, earthy taste because of what goats eat.
That's a good point. So whale cheese, would that be fishy?
That's a good question, and one that cheesemakers would have to figure out. Whale milk is incredibly high in fat, even more so than cow's milk. So imagine a cheese that's super creamy, rich. The article even mentions this wild idea, whale camembert fondue.
Whale camembert fondue. Okay, I'm officially intrigued, but it sounds like there's a lot more to this than just swapping one type of milk for another.
Oh, absolutely. Each type of milk has its own quirks, and it'll react differently during cheese making. That's part of what makes this whole concept so fascinating. It's a blend of science, culinary art, and a bit of, mad scientist experimentation.
Yeah, it's like we're on the edge of a whole new world of cheese. But before we get too carried away, let's address the elephant in the room.
You mean the ethical side of things?
Right, even if we could figure out how to get milk from these animals, is it even right to do so?
That's the big question, isn't it? Exploiting animals for our own desires, it's something we have to be really careful about. We need to think about the consequences.
So where do we draw the line? Is there a way to explore these ideas without compromising our ethics?
That's the challenge. It's going to take a lot of careful thought, open discussions, and being willing to push our boundaries.
This has definitely given me a lot to think about. But I want to hear more. What other exotic cheeses could be out there? What crazy culinary adventures await us?
Oh, we've only just begun our journey. There's a whole menagerie of possibilities out there, and we'll dive into those in part 2 of our deep dive. So, ready to dive back into the weird and wonderful world of exotic cheeses?
Oh, absolutely. Hit me with your best cheese shot. What other crazy critters are we hypothetically milking today?
All right, well, the article mentions bear milk cheese. Have you ever imagined what that would taste like?
Bear milk cheese. Honestly, all I can picture is Winnie the Pooh getting into trouble with a beehive, but I'm sure it's a lot more sophisticated than that.
Haha. Well, you're not wrong about the rich part. Bear milk is seriously fatty, even more so than cow's milk. So, bear cheese, in theory, it could be super smooth, almost buttery. Some folks think it might even have a kind of sweet, nutty flavor, like a mild cheddar.
Now that you mention it, I can see that. Melts in your mouth, maybe on some warm bread. Okay, I'm getting hungry. But how would you even get bear milk? Isn't that kind of a problem?
Yeah, that's where things get tricky. Remember, sourcing milk from wild animals, it's not exactly a walk in the park, right? And bears, they're loners. They hibernate for half the year. You're not going to sneak up on a sleeping bear and just, ask politely.
No kidding. It seems like every time we get close to actually picturing these cheeses, we hit a wall of, impossibility.
True, but remember, we're in the land of hypotheticals here. And who knows what the future holds? Maybe we'll figure out some ethical, sustainable way to get milk from these animals. Or maybe technology's got some surprises in store.
All right, I'll keep an open mind. So, what other interesting milk sources did the article talk about?
Okay, get ready for this one. Lion milk cheese.
Lion cheese. Okay, now that is something you definitely don't see at your average cheese shop. What would that even taste like?
Well, they say it could be firm, almost meaty in texture. Strong flavor, savory. Think like a really intense cheddar, but maybe with a little gaminess to it.
Lion cheese. I could see that appealing to the more adventurous eaters out there.
Yeah.
The folks who like really strong, bold flavors. Wouldn't it be kind of overwhelming, though?
Maybe, but that's kind of the point, isn't it? These exotic cheeses, they're all about pushing the boundaries of taste, introducing us to something totally new. It's like challenging what we think cheese can be.
I like that. So we've got dolphin, whale, bear, lion. Are there any other animals on this cheese-making all-star team?
Oh yeah, we're not done yet. How about seal milk cheese?
Seal milk cheese. Now that's one I hadn't even thought of. What's that supposed to be like?
Well, the description says soft, almost oily. And get this, a fishy undertone. So picture like a really rich cream cheese, but with a hint of the ocean.
Okay, I'm not so sure about that one. Fishy cream cheese doesn't sound too tempting to me. But hey, maybe some people would love it.
Exactly. Taste is subjective, right? What one person thinks is weird, another person might think is a delicacy. You never know. Maybe with the right pairings, even seal milk cheese could be a hit.
I'll trust you on that one.
Yeah.
But personally, I'm more intrigued by this elephant milk cheese. That sounds promising, right?
According to the article, yes. Elephant milk is surprisingly sweet, and it's got lots of lactose. So it could be really good for dessert cheeses. Picture something light, delicate, maybe a little bit floral.
Now that sounds a lot better than fishy cream cheese. I could definitely get behind that. Elephant milk cheesecake with berries, maybe.
See? Now you're thinking like a cheese visionary. Once you step outside the usual cow, goat, sheep box, the possibilities are endless.
This whole conversation has been amazing. It really makes you realize how much more there is to cheese than we usually think. But what about our regular old cheeses? The ones we know and love. Would they just, disappear?
I doubt it. There's always going to be a place for the classics. It's like, think about how food has evolved over time. New ingredients, new techniques, they don't replace the old stuff, they just create new possibilities, new twists on the classics.
So instead of ditching cheddar and brie, we'd be incorporating these exotic cheeses, using them in new and creative ways.
Exactly. It's like fusion cuisine, but with cheese. Blending the familiar and the unfamiliar to create something totally new and delicious.
I like the sound of that. A cheese board with, Vermont cheddar next to a hunk of bear milk cheese. Now that's a party I want to be at.
Right. It's a future where cheese is an adventure, where every bite is a surprise.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Even if we could get milk from all these animals ethically and all that, how would you even market this stuff? How do you convince people to try something so out there?
That's a great question. It'd be a challenge for sure. But imagine the marketing campaigns. Taste the wild for bear milk cheese,
Yeah.
or ocean's finest for dolphin cheese.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. The packaging would be wild too. Sleek and modern for dolphin rugged and earthy for the bear milk.
Right. But you'd also have to be really transparent about the whole process. People would want to know where this cheese is coming from, how it's made, that no animals were harmed.
And of course, it would have to taste amazing.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, flavor is king. If the cheese is delicious, people will come around.
This whole thing really makes you think about cheese in a whole new way. It's not just food anymore, it's like an experience, a connection to nature.
You got it. That's what makes it so exciting. It's not just about making new cheeses, it's about pushing boundaries, being creative, and rethinking our relationship with food.
I'm totally on board with this future of cheese. But let's not forget that elephant in the room we talked about earlier.
You mean the whole ethics thing?
Yeah. Even with all this amazing potential, we can't just ignore the fact that getting milk from animals, whether they're wild or domesticated, raises some serious ethical questions.
You're absolutely right. It's a complex issue, and we have to face it head on.
So, where do we go from here? Can we explore this new world of cheese without compromising our values?
Maybe. There's one possibility we haven't talked about yet, something that could address this ethical dilemma. Remember that lab-grown dairy we discussed?
Oh, yeah. The stuff made in a lab without any animals involved.
Exactly. That technology, while it's still pretty new, it has huge potential, not just for the dairy industry as a whole, but also for these exotic cheeses we've been talking about.
I see where you're going with this. We could have dolphin cheese, bear cheese, even lion cheese, all made ethically and sustainable.
Exactly. No animals involved, just delicious, innovative cheese. Of course, there's still a lot of work to do before lab-grown dairy is mainstream, but the possibilities are definitely exciting.
So it's not just a fantasy then. There's a real chance we could be eating these exotic cheeses someday and feeling good about it.
I think so. And I, for one, can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me neither. It sounds like we're on the edge of a whole new era for cheese.
I couldn't agree more. And who knows, maybe someday we'll look back at this conversation and be like, wow, remember when dolphin cheese was just a crazy idea?
That's a good point. It's amazing how fast things can change.
It really is. But before we get too lost in the future, let's come back to the present for a bit. We've covered a lot of ground today, but there are still some key things we haven't explored in detail.
Like what?
Well, we've talked about the potential flavors of these cheeses and the challenges of getting the milk, but we haven't really dug into the culinary side of things, like how would these cheeses be used in dishes? What kind of flavor combos could we create? How would they change the world of fine dining?
Yeah, you're right. We've been so focused on the what and the how that we haven't really talked about the why. Like, why are we even so fascinated by these exotic cheeses? What's the culinary motivation behind it all?
That's a great question, and one that we're going to tackle head on in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've covered the what all these wild cheeses from, like dolphins and bears and stuff, and the how, the sourcing issues, and that lab-grown dairy thing. Now, for the big question, the why. Why are we even entertained by the idea of dolphin brie or bear cheddar? What's the point from a foodie perspective?
That's a good question. I think, for one, it's the novelty. As humans, we just love new stuff, right? And the idea of tasting something completely unique, it's just naturally appealing.
Yeah, that's true. It's like trying a new cuisine for the first time.
Yeah.
It's an adventure.
Right, and it's not just about the novelty. It's about the potential to, expand our culinary horizons. You see, all these different milks, they have their own unique compositions, different fats, proteins, sugars. That means you could create cheeses with flavors and textures we've never even imagined before.
So it's not just about being weird for the sake of being weird. There's a real culinary reason behind it, a chance to find new tastes and, kind of redefine what cheese can be.
Exactly, and that's where chefs come in. Imagine what they could do if they had access to these crazy cheeses. We could see a whole new wave of innovative dishes, flavor combinations that would have been unthinkable a few years ago.
Okay, stop. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Give me some examples. What kind of dishes are we talking about here?
All right, let's start with that dolphin cheese we talked about. Remember? Briny, rich flavor, kind of like feta and brie, but with a hint of seaweed. So picture this. A delicate dolphin cheese tartine with some fresh seaweed sprinkled on top, a little squeeze of lemon.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Like the saltiness of the cheese, the fresh seaweed, the tangy lemon. It's like a taste of the ocean.
Right, it's about creating dishes that tell a story, that transport you somewhere new. Okay, now let's move on to bear milk cheese. Remember, super rich and fatty, smooth, buttery texture.
I'm already drooling. What would you do with that?
I'm thinking a warm bear milk cheese fondue. Serve it with crusty bread and some fresh veggies for dipping. The richness of the cheese would be winter night, super comforting.
Okay, you are killing me with these descriptions. I need to try this stuff. But what about the really out there options like lion or elephant cheese?
Well, lion cheese is supposed to be firm, almost meaty, with a really strong savory flavor. I could see it grated over pasta, maybe with a rich, meaty ragu, or maybe shaved onto a salad with bitter greens and a vinaigrette to cut through that richness.
So lion cheese is like the statement piece, the bold, in-your-face flavor that takes center stage.
Exactly. Definitely not for everyone, but if you love those strong, complex flavors, it'd be a revelation. Now, for elephant milk cheese, remember, it's on the sweeter side, high lactose content, so perfect for dessert.
Oh, now we're talking. What kind of sweet treats are we thinking here?
Okay, how about a light and fluffy elephant milk cheesecake? Infuse it with honey, top it with a berry compote. The sweetness of the cheese, the tangy berries, the floral honey, perfection.
My mouth is officially watering. These dishes all sound incredible. It's like you opened a door to a whole new world of food just with cheese.
And we're just getting started. Think about the pairings. What kind of wines, what drinks would go with these cheeses? Would we have to throw out all the old rules?
Yeah, it'd be a whole new ball game for sommeliers and chefs trying to find the perfect match for these exotic flavors.
Imagine a tasting menu. Each course with a different exotic cheese and a special drink pairing. Like a crisp steak with the dolphin cheese, a smoky bourbon with the bear milk cheese, a delicate white wine with the elephant milk cheese. It would be an experience unlike anything else.
This whole conversation has really blown my mind. But are we getting ahead of ourselves? Is this just a fun fantasy? Or do you think there's a real chance that we'll be eating these cheeses someday?
I think it's possible, especially with that lab-grown dairy technology. As that gets better and more common, it could open the door for making these cheeses in a way that's ethical and sustainable.
So it's not just a pipe dream. We could actually be eating these cheeses someday without feeling guilty about it.
Yeah, I think so. And I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of exotic cheeses.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
For sure. We covered the science, the culinary possibilities, the ethics. I think we only scratched the surface of this topic.
There's always more to learn, right?
Definitely. But for now, we'll leave our listeners with one last thought. If we can reimagine something as basic as cheese, what other culinary boundaries are out there just waiting to be broken? What other amazing flavors are waiting to be discovered?
That's a great question to ponder. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be back to deep dive into the next big culinary innovation.
Until then, keep those minds open, your taste buds adventurous, and your appetite for the future strong. Thanks for joining us on this wild cheese ride.